Welcome to Part A News. This is Ingrid Johnson reporting on the 28th of December 2010. Today, in Iran, Dorsa Sobhani has been sentenced to 1 year in prison. Her charges were membership in the Baha'i sect, being a member of the 1 million signatures campaign, participation in human rights activities, and presentation of false documents regarding the innocence of 3 Baha'i prisoners in Shiraz via email. Dorsa is a Baha'i, and the most recent of many facing prosecution for their faith. The Baha'i faith is a world religion promoting the concept of unity and accepts all of the previous manifestations of God, such as Christ, Muhammad, Abraham, and so on. Over the last 150 years, however, misunderstandings have arisen from the Iranian government. The most well-known of these cases would have to have been the imprisonment of the Iran, or Friends in Iran. These prominent members of the Baha'i community were arrested and charged unjustly with, among other things, espionage for Israel, the establishment of an illegal administration, and propaganda against the Islamic Republic, all of which were denied. In many ways, the trial of these 7 leaders was a trial representing more than 300,000 Baha'is in Iran, who have, for many years, been denied basic human rights. After the trial on the 14th of June 2010, the defendants were sentenced to 20 years imprisonment in Tehran's notorious Evin prison. Now, campaigns and petitions protesting for the release have been sweeping the globe, such as the 1 million signatures campaign, for which Dora faced imprisonment for her peaceful involvement. In this situation, the Baha'is of Iran are the difference, in contrast to the dominating figures in the Iranian government, leading the dominant Muslim population of the country. There are several reasons why the Iranian government frowns on Baha'i citizens. It is said to be Islamic heresy as, unlike other minority religions in the country, it developed in the 19th century after Islam. Baha'is and Babis are therefore assumed to be committing crimes of apostasy. The idea that Baha'u'llah, the prophet of the Baha'i faith, came after Islam is also rejected, as this would imply that Muhammad was not the final and greatest of God's messengers. The Baha'i faith also believes that throughout history, God will send his messengers, although the next one will not appear for the next 1,000 years. This also contradicts the Islamic government's views on who Muhammad was. The government has also classified the Baha'is as being part of a political group, thus denying them religious tolerance. The principle of individual investigation of the truth is a concept of spiritual freedom, and the fact that Baha'is don't have any priests and are responsible for their own spiritual growth may be regarded as threatening to the clerical power of the Islamic government. Also, because the headquarters of the Baha'i faith is situated in Haifa, with the Baha'is' main administrative center in Holy Land, they are common suspects for espionage against the country. Thank you for watching Part A News. This is Ingrid Johnson. Good night. I would look at fighting the foundational issues that pose dangers to society, such as prejudice, discrimination, and those kinds of biases that are ultimately based on ignorance and lack of understanding, by exploring the present consequences concerning dominance over difference. Hopefully, students will come to understand that we, as human beings, are all different, with different cultures, religious beliefs, nationalities, and ethnicities. I think that it's not only important that we learn to understand and tolerate each other for our differences, but actually come to accept and love one another for the many diversities and similarities that we bring into the mix. After all, how boring would life be if we were all the same? Hopefully, by helping students to explore and understand that concept, they will become more alert to the injustices and discriminations present in society, therefore not supporting them in any way. My belief is that mankind has been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization, and as long as people continue to spread and develop these things, it's going to be very hard for mankind to create a peaceful and unified world. To help students better understand situations such as the Baha'i persecutions in Iran, I would go about exploring issues which may not only apply in this case, but affect us regularly in communities all around the world. Issues like this may include intolerance, prejudice, and discrimination, which are issues that may at times even affect students in their schoolyards. One way I may go about addressing these issues could be by encouraging students to begin identifying and exploring their own personal biases. For the duration of a semester, students could keep on hand a diary in which they must record their immediate reactions in regards to people of difference or the other. They can also record the ways they have felt and how their actions may have been affected by this, however slightly, or whether they thought that they knew better in any way. At the end of the semester, students would be able to reflect on their reactions, any patterns in their thinking, and then they can press on to confront their personal biases and therefore reduce any sort of discriminating behavior. Hopefully this kind of activity would help students to gain an understanding of difference and dominance. Another activity that aims at exploring personal prejudices begins by having the students divide themselves into groups of about 4 to 6, as small groups. The teacher could provide the students with a set period of time to individually come up with about 3 personal experiences in which they can relate to discrimination. These sorts of situations would include, firstly, a time when they've discriminated against somebody else. Secondly, a time when they may have seen discrimination in some way in society and they haven't done anything about it. And the third would involve a time when they had done something about it and they had reacted to it. After that, the teacher could encourage the students to share and elaborate on the last 2 questions so that they can reflect on their reaction, why they thought they reacted that way, and what it means about them. When conducting this activity, it may prove beneficial for the teacher to press how the activity is not aiming towards provoking feelings of guilt or regret, but to examine the ways in which we do things so that we can better understand them. Hopefully this activity could lead to raising students' awareness of discrimination and see how prejudices affect everybody in some way and at some stage during their lives. Well, those activities mentioned in regards to that event could pretty much be taught in any social studies class or social sciences, a history lesson. They can apply to almost any age level and grade, although with a few adaptations, but it's certainly beneficial to get students thinking about these sorts of issues so that they can gain a deeper understanding of those difference and dominance concepts for when they leave school and they go out into the world, or even while they're still young. I hope that by students engaging in a study of this event and the key themes surrounding it, such as difference and dominance, that they will be able to look at situations of oppression, such as the Baha'is' persecutions in Iran, and relate to these issues of prejudice and discrimination back to things a little closer to home. Who is considered to be the difference in the community? What ideas are considered to be the most dominant? By exploring these ideas, they'll hopefully gain a deeper understanding of difference and dominance and community identity. These activities allow the students the opportunity to critically engage with each other and to reflect on themselves, their identities, and where they feel they stand in regards to the issues of prejudice, ignorance, and discrimination, which connect directly to the theme of the event. The event being the Baha'i persecutions in Iran shows a lot of injustice from the Iranian government, who would be the dominant force against the difference, who would be represented in this case by the Baha'is of the country. I hope that by studying this event and by gaining a deeper understanding of difference and dominance and how it has an effect on society, students would become more inclined to actively overcome disadvantage and marginalization in society, the classroom, and the community. This would help me to become a transformative educator, because hopefully by teaching the kids these concepts and helping them to understand them on a deeper level, they will be less inclined to show forth displays of discrimination and prejudice themselves, hopefully opting for a more peaceful world.